Well, hello, everybody. This is HQ. Today has been a crazy day. We got three different stories, three different levels of seriousness, but every one of those matter. And here's what stood out to me: there's two sides to every story, right? And I'm going to tell you how I see both of those. So it's just a sad day today. So let's get into it, okay? Let's get into it. So, welcome to the channel. If you appreciate real breakdowns, these are real breakdowns of the stories that we had today. Like, hit the share, hit the like, hit the subscribe if you like the content. So, let's start at the top, okay? Because this is where this is just wild all day, right? Listen to JD Vance talk to people at Turning Point. Let's see.
My name is Dane Hoff. I'm originally from the great state of Arizona and proudly voted for you and Donald J. Trump in November 2024.
Here we go.
And my question is that many people believe the midterms are already gone for us. I disagree. So what is the game plan to win the midterms? And what's the strategy to maintain the coalitions Trump won in 24?
So number one is, I totally agree with you. The idea that midterms are gone is preposterous. And if you go back to 2018 and you look at the polling picture in 2018, that was Trump's first term. And what it showed is that Republicans were getting crushed in the generic ballot by 10, 11, 12 points. The worst polls right now, the worst polls, not all of them, the worst polls have us down by 5 or 6 points, okay? And what happened in 2018 is that as we got closer to the election, and again, the right kind of unified in the face of an election campaign, what happened is those margins narrowed, and the Republican Party did much better than expected in 2018. It wasn't a great election by any means, but the idea that this is done now, it's ridiculous, and frankly, it's cynical, pessimistic garbage pushed by people who want us to completely give up. Don't give up. We got to keep on fighting. That's the fundamental and most important thing, is the people telling you to give up on the midterms are the people who want us to lose the midterms. Don't listen to them.
Nobody's really telling people to give up on the midterms. That's not what people are doing. People are actually coming out of their bubble and seeing the reality of what we're facing. We are facing rising prices. We're facing a oil blockage in the Strait of Hormuz, and the conversations that they continue to have with JD Vance, he keeps saying things that don't even add up to people. Everybody can see the polls. Everybody can see the poll. You can go see the poll. You can check the poll on Fox. You can check the poll on Newsmax. You can check the poll at MSNBC. But we're not getting the true story from JD Vance. If it's not very obvious to you, I don't like JD Vance because I believe JD Vance lies to the American public. He's too slick. He's put into the position to control us. It feels like a person who is trying to control us. Every time he speaks, he always speaks a narrative that is just slightly off center, that is not correct. Everybody can see poll. Everybody can look at the polls and know that all of these things are happening and they're losing all across the country. Why do people think that the Republican Party is losing all across the country? Why do you think that? The reason why they're losing is not because they like Democrats. Don't get me wrong. Nobody's saying they like Democrats. They just don't like the Republicans and the direction that the Republicans are taking us. And JD Vance is always one of the people that is trying to worm his way into making you believe something that's not true. That young man asked about the midterms. Everybody can look at polls and know that the Republicans have been losing all year long because the policies that the Republicans have put into place, people don't like. It just is what it is. You don't like the Democrats, but you damn sure don't like what the Republicans are doing. It just is what it is. Hold on. Let me put something else up. JD Vance. Uno momento. Hold on.
You are a practicing Catholic. You're, despite your language, you're attempting to be a faithful Catholic.
That's right. That's right.
I think it was well placed, if
Thank you.
I may say.
It.
I'm sure you've seen that the Vatican and the Pope and the President have been in the news lately. So as a Catholic, what does it feel like to be, in the middle of that?
I thought I was going to get easy questions. This is kind of a tough question here.
Nope, no easy ones there.
So here's the thing about this. So first of all, you will sometimes hear people say, well, the Vatican, the church, whether it's the Protestant church, the Catholic church, they should preach the gospel. They should ignore public policy. I actually don't agree with that. I actually think that it's a good thing when Christian leaders, whether they're Catholic or Protestant, part of preaching the gospel is talking about how the gospel applies to the issues of the day. So I've never been one of these people who say that you should never have, Christian leadership not talking about politics, or frankly, political leaders not talking about their Christian faith. But I do think that we have to remember that, each of us has our own role. I'm the Vice President of the United States. The fundamental way I understand my role is that I'm trying to take the lessons, the moral truths that are rooted in Christianity, and I'm trying to apply them to a whole host of complicated real-world scenarios.
But here's the thing. Not all of us are Catholic. Not all of us are Muslim. Not all of us are Presbyterian. Not all of us are Jewish. You cannot rule. You cannot have a moral fabric to rule in this country. You can't do it. You can't rule from a Christian frame because we're not all Christian. That's why they wanted our politics to be separate from church and state. And he's always pushing the religious thing when not all of us are religious. Okay, but policy affects all of us. So you have to start from a different frame of mind. You cannot start from a policy state. You cannot start from a religious standpoint and rule over a country as diverse as us with different viewpoints when it comes to religion. You just cannot do that. And what makes him not my favorite person is because he's always pushing something, a point of view, on top of the fact that he's a white male, and I find him very slimy, and I find the fact that he never defended his wife really, really scummy. I found that very scummy. So, he's not going to be my favorite person, but he always hits the wrong note with people. But if you look at this clip or you look at this visit to Turning Point USA, that stadium that they're in is empty. That stadium is almost empty. It's only a few rows of people. If you look at clips, it's only a few rows of people in that stadium with JD Vance because they didn't have enough people to show up, I guess. So you don't really see the crowd. They only zoom around the ones that are down by the bottom. And so you only see the fact that it may be, I'll give it 100, 200 people, if that. That's a big university in Georgia. But it's not a lot of people that showed up for what JD Vance wanted to talk about. And JD Vance wanted to talk about his religious beliefs. But how religious is it when he's always denigrating his wife's religious beliefs? How much of a Christian can he be if every time you turn around, he's saying he's denigrating his wife's religion? Okay. And that's what I also find difficult about JD Vance. He's always talking negatively about his wife's religion. And she's a person too. Okay. So I understand that he may be a religious person, but does anybody really believe that JD Vance is as religious as he is? Okay. Does he really believe that? Because I don't believe he's as religious as he says. But that was story number one, was JD Vance at Turning Point USA, and he didn't get much. What is it? He didn't get much play out of that because he's trying to be the alternative to the MAGA crowd, and the MAGA crowd is getting smaller and smaller because not that they don't believe in religion or don't believe in Turning Point. It just means they're not believing what they're being, people are not believing what they're being told. That young man asked, how are you planning to keep the coalition that we got that elected Trump? Unfortunately, that coalition is gone. That coalition has been turned off by the Trump administration's continuous assault on the American way of life here. Because I look at it as an assault. I look at what Donald Trump has done as an assault against all of the people in the United States, including white, black, Hispanic, immigrant. I consider this administration an assault on the United States because you wanted to change you wanted to change it back to something. Well, make America great again. America was never great for black people. America was never great for immigrants. So you can't make America great again unless it's for white people, and most white people don't want to go backwards. That has been demonstrated through the No Kings protests. That has been demonstrated through all of the elections that we've had in the last year, where people said no. They rejected all of the things that President Trump wanted, or President Trump wanted to put into place. On top of the fact that President Trump has used executive orders to get things through that he knew would never pass Congress. That's why he's using executive orders, because he knows he cannot pass legislation that it's unpopular. He knows that. So let me get the next clip in there. Donald Trump. Uno momento. Here we go.
Has the blockade started, sir?
Yeah, started 10 o'clock.
What's the end game? Is it to force Iran back to the negotiating table? Is it to open up the strait so that gas prices ultimately come down?
Maybe everything. I mean, both of those things, certainly, and more. We can't let a country blackmail or extort the world, because that's what they're doing. They're really blackmailing the world. We're not going to let that happen. Many ships are heading to our country right now as we speak, to load up with the best, really, I guess you could say, somebody said the best and sweetest. I don't know exactly what sweet is, but when it relates to oil, it's a good thing. We've been called this morning by the right people, the appropriate people, and they want to work a deal. They would like to work a deal.
Is it your anticipation, Mr. President, that other countries will assist in this effort to blockade Iran and those?
Yeah, other countries are going to also.
Which countries, sir?
We don't need other countries, frankly, but they've offered the services. We'll let it be known probably tomorrow. Pope Leo said things that are wrong. He was very much against what I'm doing with regard to Iran, and you cannot have a nuclear Iran. Pope Leo would not be happy with the end result. You have hundreds of millions of people dead. You went public. I'm just responding to Pope Leo, and his brother is a big.
So, what we have is the president. What we have is the president having a conversation about the Strait of Hormuz. Now, let's be clear. The president has no control over what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz. He has no control, because if he had control, we would see something different. All we see is more blockade. All we see is people being turned away from the Strait of Hormuz. Okay? They're not trying to deal with the president. Listen.
The Strait of Hormuz is open for all of the vessels and ships, except the American ships and their allies to attack us.
Yes. So who do you regard as the allies?
Yeah, regarding for the you can see that Every country that wants to help the aggressors, giving the different military bases or intelligence lodges.
So all the Gulf states.
No. Regarding the Persian Gulf states, let me. I do reiterate that we have still with them diplomatic relations. Our Iranian ambassadors working there, and we do not have any conflict, any war with them. We are defending ourselves only for, according to our self-defense right.
But are you saying their ships can pass?
Yeah, they can pass.
So UAE,
regarding for the
Saudi, all of those ships can pass.
every case should be monitored.
But the ships that have been hit so far were not just American vessels.
No, we have warned to them regarding for the observation of their own security.
How does Iran view Britain and British ships?
We welcome their own initial position regarding not involvement with this war. But nowadays we have received some matters in the name of the collective security, collective self-defense that we declared to them.
But now.
So basically what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz, they abandoned talks with with Iran because Iran didn't want to give up their uranium. And the United States can't go get their uranium unless they go 300 miles inland to attack their uranium wherever they're keeping the uranium. My understanding is it's 300 miles in and the United States can't get to it. So instead of trying to do a land deal, instead of trying to have boots on the ground, they want to do a blockade. This is in response to them saying, we're not giving up our uranium. We're not giving up our nuclear weapon program. We're not giving up the control of the Strait of Hormuz, because my understanding is they're charging $2 million per ship plus $1 extra per barrel. So if they're charging $2 million per ship to get through the Strait of Hormuz and $1 per barrel, and I think like 900 million barrels go through there, Iran is getting paid. Iran doesn't have to make a deal with the United States. They don't have to, because they're getting everything that they want. The United States has to come get Iran. So if their nuclear program is 300 miles in over rough terrain, that means we're going to have boots on the ground in order to stop them from having a nuclear weapon. You can't stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon unless you're going to put boots on the ground. United States doesn't want to put boots on the ground. They think a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. How do you block the Strait of Hormuz? How does the American people blocking the Strait of Hormuz get us the objective that we want? It doesn't get us the objective that we want. The president wants to block the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran is blocking it from any American ship or ally related to them. So we're not getting any oil through anyway, but the Americans are trying to block everybody else. So we're at a standstill. Don't let the president tell you anything different. We're at a standstill, and they have the president over the barrel. When JD Vance came out of that situation on Saturday and said we didn't come to any agreement, basically what Iran said was, we're not giving you our nuclear program. And we don't have to do anything about the Strait. They don't have to do anything. What you're seeing in the Strait is ships turning around, insurance costs are rising, and the markets are reacting. Okay? Strait. Iran has control of that whole strait. There's nothing the Americans can do. It's not and the president seems to think he can talk his way out of it. He can't talk his way out. Don't y'all think that Benjamin Netanyahu had to have had an idea that this was going to happen? Why didn't Benjamin Netanyahu worry about the United States? We don't see Benjamin Netanyahu on TV now, do we? He has the Americans pulled into this fight. He ain't got to worry about nothing. That's all he got to do is have us distracted with dealing with Iran, and Israel is bombing Lebanon. He just wanted the Americans to give him cover so he could bomb Lebanon and continue with the massacre of the Gaza people. So Benjamin Netanyahu is getting what he wants. We are the only goofies that are out here fighting somebody about the Strait of Hormuz for something we can't even stop. And nobody's going to like the president putting a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. Nobody likes that. So we're caught between a rock and a hard place. Here's the reality of the strait. It's a narrow canal or river. It runs along the coast of Iran. They don't need to dominate the water. They only need to make the route risky for people. The insurance companies are going to stop people from coming. If ships hesitate or reroute, the effect is the same. Disruption of the Strait of Hormuz. If they're truly in control, they wouldn't have to reroute nothing. You wouldn't have this volatile situation, and it wouldn't be a global concern. So who seems like they're in control? Does it seem like the Americans are in control? No, it don't. So now you got elections coming up, and now you done put us all at risk. And so this is where we are with the Strait of Hormuz. We're not getting any kind of relief. We're just going to be in the middle of it. This is our third story for the day. The third story for the day. This is wild. And this was the most wildest of all.
Hello, everyone. Get closer. Hello, everyone. My name is Lana Drews. In 2018, while I was living and working as a model in Beverly Hills, and I also owned a fashion software company, I had contact with Eric Swalwell on 3 separate occasions after meeting him socially. He offered me connections to further my software company, and I also had an interest in local politics. He invited me to 2 public events. I knew he was married at the time and that his wife was pregnant. He was my friend. On the 3rd occasion, I believe he drugged my drink. I only had 1 glass of wine. We were supposed to go to a political event, and he said he needed to get paperwork from his hotel room. When I arrived at his hotel room, I was already incapacitated, and I couldn't move my arms or my body. He raped me, and he choked me.
That's wild. That's the wildest shit ever. You know what's really wild is that not only did this person allegedly, take or have sex with this person took it. This person raped her. See, there's a whole different level, whole different thing. If I had an affair with Eric Swalwell, I just had an affair with him. Me and him had an affair. We had some fun, blah, 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 blah. We had some fun. It was consensual. Different level. He taken it. According to her, he took it. According to other women, he snatched it from other women. And these are the serious allegations. These are the worst allegations. It would have been a different story if he was just sleeping with these women, because I knew he had did it. I knew he had slept with other women or did something similar to that. I'm going to say allegedly, but I'm going to take him at his press conference when he said, me and my wife have worked this out. I'm going to take him at his word. Me and my wife have worked it out. So if him and his wife worked it out, that tells me he did have an affair at some particular point. He was having an affair. But how does it feel to know you married to a man who raped people? How does it feel being married to a man who grapes people? And this is what he's being accused of, graping women. And it's multiple claims. It's not just one claim, it's multiple claims. So he gonna have a criminal element to what's gonna happen to him. This is beyond the politics. This is legal and personal responsibility. This is wild. Okay. And Eric has denied all of this. Of course, he's denied all of this. He ain't denied the fact that he had an affair, because I'm sure he can't do that, because I'm sure he's done that. Okay. He has denial and he has pushback to it all. So stepping down don't resolve all of these claims. It means the situation couldn't be handled politically anymore. Now it's going to be handled personally. Okay. And it shifts from the personal political management to his personal consequences in an investigation. And there's multiple people that have accused him of this goofy stuff. Goofy stuff. Like I said, it would be a different thing if me and Eric just had an affair. We just had an affair. We was doing our thing. Da, 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 da. But no, he liked to take it. He liked to do it when you under the influence of stuff, allegedly. He liked to do it when you under the influence. Okay. So these are the three top stories that we had today. Vance is trying to frame his he's running for the presidency. I doubt very seriously whether he makes it, but he's running for the presidency. And he's trying to frame his presidency. He's trying to frame his presence as religious and being an a person that's worthy of being the president. I don't see how that can happen because he's so slimy. I would never vote for him. The president is also claiming that he got control of the Strait. And the people in Iran is saying, you can forget all about that, Mr. President, because they've been doing Lego videos on him. If you haven't looked at the Lego videos over on TikTok, there's Lego videos about the president over there on TikTok. They bodying him bad. And Iran is saying, we don't have to agree to nothing. They don't have to agree to nothing. That's all they got to do is exist. That's all they got to do is survive whatever the U.S. is putting on them, and they will look like they doing their best. Eric Swalwell is facing multiple serious accusations, and he darn sure might be facing legal consequences too. So these ain't random stories. These were the highlights of today. These stories were the highlights of today. These moments were being talked about. These were the hottest moments that we got. So every night we just going to do 3 or 4 stories and find out what's the hottest thing that's going on every night. So we're going to pay attention to that. And we're going to call it out. The hottest stories of the day. So I want you to put it, share, in the comment section. Put something in the comment section. Let me know if you like the story of the day. This is called Flashpoints. It's going to be every night at 10 o'clock. We just going to highlight the stories of the day. You know, give you guys the take on it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.